Good evening, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here again. Tonight we have two different guests. We have Munir and we have Faye with us. So
Hello.
welcome, Munir. Welcome, Faye.
Welcome, Guilherme. Welcome, everyone.
Hi.
Lovely to be here.
It's a great opportunity to have you both here with us today.
Likewise.
So today, as always, let me share with you guys our slides. The topic of tonight is mediumship and the future. I hope you all will have fun with that. So, as ever, this call is really something that we need to thank a lot to BUS, Kardec Radio, and SSL. Without those three partners, it wouldn't be possible to be here tonight. And we are very grateful for the opportunity and also for the work all of them are doing for the Spiritism. So, back to our subject tonight, mediumship and the future. So, what is the future? It seems that was very, very distant when we start to study mediumship, when Kardec started to put things together to give us that tremendous amount of information we have today. And what about the future? What should we expect from today onwards? I think we had lots of information from Kardec and after Kardec. But are we really staying only in that time, or are we expecting to get new information? Are we expecting to have different opportunities? So tonight we're going to have more like a conversation than anything else, because this topic is something that I believe has great possibilities to talk, to discuss. And I will start asking first, Faye, what she think about the future for the mediumship?
Thank you. I think I'm going to mention something that I've seen recently, very recently, and from Professor Nicolelis, who has a wonderful work about brain and consciousness and all that. And he said, we live on the constructions that we make of the future. In other words, if we say that, well, we don't know about the future, on one hand, we can kind of have an idea, kind of guess, because we build today. Whatever we do today is building the future, and that in the material and spiritual side of life.
And you, Munir, what are your thoughts about the subject?
I see that mediumship is important today and is going to be even more important in the future, Guilherme, because I believe that everything is the result of a process, a long process, where we experience development in three levels. In the organic level, our bodies won't be the same in the future, and will actually be the result of changes that will occur, just like any faculty. If we look back 100,000, 200,000 years ago, we had, our ancestors, the Homo erectus, for instance, they were really primitive from, our standpoint now. And then we have the Homo sapiens, and throughout the 40,000 years until now, we have evolved a great deal, and we have changed the way we perceive, the way we interact with the world. And now, through mediumship, we discover. And I like mentioning what Kardec says in the book Genesis, because mediumship, he says, mediumship is for the spirit world what the telescope was for astronomy when they first started using it. It gives a different perspective of the sky. So it gives a different perspective of life. And we are walking towards an interaction, a constant interaction. The spiritual world will be part of our world in the future, not in the very near future. I see this, evolving through, time. And we've seen, a great amount of evolution since Kardec. Kardec came not to claim that he discovered a mediumship. No, he came to put order in the place, to understand, to study the process and shed some light in how it worked. Because before that, there was mediumship. There has always been mediumship within humanity because it's an organic faculty. And just as any organic faculty, it evolves. We are the results of 4.5 billion years of this planet, this very same planet. There was initially just, elements very hot, and slowly life, came to be here. And what we see now is this result. So I see mediumship as the future of humanity.
Yeah.
Do you want to say anything, Faye?
Please.
And I think what you said is very important. First of all, Kardec, he did not invent mediumship, right? He just compiled the knowledge that were available at his time with massive inputs from the spirits. So basically, he's the safest guidelines to practice mediumship, right? And something that you said that really is resonating in my heart is that everything evolves, everything. And as it is organic, it will also evolve. So what should we expect in the future as it is organic? In my opinion, I think as we lose organs we do not need anymore, and mediumship is there, I believe mediumship will become something that will be simple to have, will be simple to deal with, without all those limits that were created by the man, not by God, really. So you will not need so many boundaries to practice mediumship or to feel like that I have mediumship. Because today, some areas, there's still a little bit of taboo as well, isn't it? Some people, they really...
Yeah, it's something that, as you say, it brings the it's good to remember that as Kardec organized all that, as I said, what he did not invent, he organized it and made it scientifically. I think he helps to reduce the distance that was once perceived between the domain of spirit, mind, and spirit, as opposed to completely opposed to the domain of matter. Yeah, as if there were two things irrevocably opposite, and they would never match and they would never mix. But Kardec's studies and research and everything that's been done so far around the development of spiritism, development of humankind, is changing that paradigm, isn't it? I think it's more frequent to hear that there's a proximity of science as a study of matter to the study of spirit or consciousness, because they are intertwined in a way.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, Faye, because we have always to bear in mind that we are, we have three elements: the spirit, which is the essence. So when we talk about intelligence, moral development, it's an attribute of the spirit. But the spirit has got this semi-material or fluidic envelope, which is the result of the projection of these spirits onto a fluidic environment. And also there is the physical body. And when we have the mediumistic faculty, it's actually is a link between the three, because it happens. The body has to allow it to happen. The perispirit has to take part in that, is the one that actually makes the connection. And of course, it's an intelligent process. So the spirit is the one there, working all this. But I said, the body has to allow it. The problem is we, as a spirit, we have many faculties that we are developing as a spirit. And when we take up a body, physical body, these faculties, they stay dormant, They stay in a dark room, they're quiet. When we use the mediumistic faculty, we actually, it's like a channel or, a keyhole where we see things through a very narrow hole. But in the future, we'll actually have a door, perhaps, no doors or no walls confining the spirit. So the interaction between the physical world and the spiritual world will be much closer to the natural interaction between spirits, because the body will allow us to manifest our spiritual nature through our perispirit. But for that, the spirit has to evolve. The perispirit, consequently, will be more refined, more, I would say, subtle. And the physical body has to also develop as well. And we know that through incarnations, as we evolve as spirits, we also affect matter. Genetically, we are transforming humankind with our incarnations. Every time we bring knowledge, we bring our moral development with us, we actually transform the physical body.
And in that case, my question to both of you, because this is all fascinating, but I'm trying to think from the point of view of a listener, saying, all right, that's fine, but we're talking physics, we're talking theology. What is it to do with being a medium? Why would a medium need to deal with that or to know that? What would you say?
Is that for me or Guilherme?
Both.
After you, Guilherme.
I'm not sure if it's me that's frozen or not. And as you guys know, I have a limited internet tonight.
Yeah.
And something that came to my mind is that Kardec, he wanted to bring a safe way to practice mediumship. Mm-hmm. He never thought about creating a rule to prevent people to practice mediumship. I have some doubts that is clear to everyone, because I see so many difficulties to practice mediumship, to engage in that activity, with so many different reasons, so many different excuses, if you like. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that was Kardec's will. I think he wanted to share the knowledge to everyone, to the point that I heard one time that no, we only mediums will study the medium's book. And I asked why, that doesn't make any sense to me. So I think that future for me will be bring that knowledge to everyone. Make that knowledge that is available for 200 years available to everyone, without discrimination, without preconceived ideas that is more don'ts than do, And the other day I was having a meeting with some people and I was asked, is that safe? I said, let me ask you something, and hopefully that will answer your question. Where in Kardec he says that you should not do it? And the person could not answer, because it wasn't in Kardec. Despite that Kardec was very organized, very methodic in the way he brought the knowledge to us, I understand that everything he did was to make that information safely available to everyone. And I see so many excuses not to promote mediumship, not to give opportunity to new people. And I would say that would be my future with mediumship, because even with what we are doing now, like having a virtual mediumship, having opportunities, giving opportunities to people that never had the opportunity before because they could not found resonance with any spiritist center before, because they were told they had to do so many things and they could not. So I think future is that discriminalize mediumship within the spiritist centers, because I think that's a must for me. How do you see that? How do you because we are in 3 different countries here, right? And how do you guys see that?
Munir?
Yes, I see that. Yes, Guilherme. Unfortunately, some people, they see danger in everywhere. It reminds me, once I went, that was in the 90s. I wanted to see New York. I had a connection, arrived in the early morning and my flight was in the evening. I said, okay, I'll go from the airport to the center of New York and walk there all day. But at that time, crime was very high in New York. So as soon as I got out of the tube station, the underground station, I stopped a police officer with a map and asked him, which are the areas that I shouldn't go as a tourist? Oh, he said, don't go there, don't go there, and don't go there. Apart from that, enjoy the city. That's what we should do in terms of mediumship. We shouldn't just ignore that, there are dangers, but since mediumship is an organic faculty, it's not something as a gift that is given to selected people. Everyone should learn about that just as much as we learn about other aptitudes or other faculties that we all have. We try to make the most of it in the sense that use with wisdom, know the dangers and know what can be done with that. That's how I see. Particularly in Brazil, we see all sorts of things. We see some spiritist centers where they are almost like, sort of a very, very rigid. Yes, mediumship is just for a few. We go, you have stages where if you pass the first stage, you go to the second, you go to the third, and then you spend, part of your life overcoming these barriers until you deserve to develop mediumship. And some others is just, say, oh, do whatever you want, and there are no instruction as to how to use it. Yeah. Sorry?
A sort of laissez-faire, just
laissez-faire, that's it. Yeah.
Just go for it. Yeah. But then again, it's good to hear you guys, and it's good to see what our teachers and mentors and writers say. And there was this there was a connection. There's always traditionally a connection of mediumship as a link was sparked to the divine, or as if there would be a few selected lucky ones, with access to information. And as Guilherme is saying, no, information is there, open, democratic. It's up to us to get ready and prepare. It's not the information, it's hidden. It's at different levels, and it's up to us. We're free and we're invited to learn more and more, to reach as far as we can. But there are some people have the ability and the curiosity to reach a certain number of levels. Other people feel pretty content where they are, and they will develop intellectually if that, just as if I wanted to learn quantum physics, I could, it's there. Nobody's saying, Faye, you can't do it. But it's up to me to decide whether I've got the background to do that. And if I don't, do I want to build it up to get there? And sometimes maybe I don't need quantum physics to be happy and feel that I am productive and I can do a fairly good job where I am. And the practice and experience will take me there eventually. If not in this life, maybe somewhere else. But I mean, I'm not suffering because I'm not up there. I'm not an astronomer or a physicist. You see? And so I was, but I like the notion that we can learn about our physical constitution and the physical and spiritual constitution, in the sense that we all work with energy, and we learn about working with energy to know what to do, and also to learn that there is a possibility, there is an ability of transmutation. For example, we can work in the transmutation of hatred into love. And how do we do that? Well, if we know how it works, if we know what the power of thought and thought power of mind, and how energy works, and what we do with it, isn't it? I think it's all in the medium's set of work, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Faye, you said something that I even make a note in my scribbles here, and levels, right? People have access to different levels of mediumship, and that is something that bothers me with that, because we should not have any level at all. We should have the information available to everyone exactly in the same scenario. Or let me use the word level as you. So all the information should be exactly on the same level to everyone in every scenario, right? Mm-hmm. Because if we go to some different creeds where they create like a caste, where up to this level you are entitled to get access to this level of information. If you move to a different level, you are entitled to get this level of information. That's not Spiritist.
No. Excuse me, but I meant this is my level, meaning this is how much I've achieved, and if I want to know it more, I can learn more. Not that I am or anyone would be limited, because that's something that I think that Munir was talking about in places in which some are elected, so there are levels. While you're going to come to this level, and this is where you're going to work. I agree, it should be, maybe the word is not level. I don't know what word I should say that. And, it's like going to school. You go to school, you go from year 1, 2, 3, 4.
We have a scenario where if the person wants to practice, he or she will practice if anybody say yes or no anyway, right? So it's better to the person to have access to the right information, to be acquainted with the medium's book, for instance, and then do something safely instead of trying to do something when you buy on the bookstores. Because there are books telling you what to do to get in contact with spirits whatsoever, but they are not from the Spiritism. So I guess in this scenario, then we have a danger. The person will be exposed to some risks, unnecessary risks, I would say.
It's as if people would be looking for shortcuts. How to. You get a booklet, how to make a cake, how to do this. This is a shortcut. Mm-hmm. And this doesn't really work like that, does it?
Yeah, and you see, if we look back, mediumship has always been with humanity. We see in different societies, in different civilizations, they performed cures. They could, we have in Indian tribes, we had with the Egyptians, and so many that, the prophets in Israel, they weren't but mediums. So we see mediumship. What Kardec did was actually the opposite. He brought some light, some order, some information that people who are already practicing could guide themselves in a safer way with that, with information the spirits brought and he compiled. And not to hide and say only few people have access to these. People will have mediumship, people will use their mediumship as they've always done in the past. And now that they have, more information, it should be available to everyone.
Mhm. Now, how about if we think of a medium's work is never done? I mean, how about the medium and the mediumship in everyday life? I mean, what's the reality? And
I have
what
a good,
anyone wants to develop.
I have a good example of it, if I may.
Yep.
There's an author, Paulo César Frutuoso, that I like him very much because he practice, he experiment, and he being exposed to a lot of things in the Spiritism that the majority of people did not.
Mhm.
And he speaks about the medicine of the future, where people will use mediumship to broaden the capacity of analysis of patients. And I think it's a prime example where mediumship in the future will be,
Mhm.
You, with your sensibility, you'll be able to identify something before it happens even, because you'll be able to perceive the heavy energy in an organ, for example. If you do have a heavy energy in an organ, means something is not right, So perhaps you start to treat that before it happens,
Yeah.
So let me look at. Well, we have some comments here.
Yeah.
I forgot that we have comments. I miss Rafael already. You see, so we have Nancy, Tiago, Elsa, Thais. So how to balance that? So I don't know specifically what you meant, Thais, but if you give me a little bit more information, I will try to work on that. And also, you mentioned here that a series of films, Downtown Abbey, are using baskets to contact spirits. Well, there are, even nowadays, there are people using basket, glasses, Ouija, that's a board with letters, different ways to contact
Speaking
spirits.
board, yes.
It's there. And you cannot prevent that to happen because you can buy that anywhere you want, So,
Yeah.
oh, I see. Thais is asking how to balance the challenges. And that's $1 million question because we all want to have the equilibrium between the mediumship capacity we all have and our normal lives. If we are committed to that cause, if I can say like that, if we study enough, if we really understand what mediumship is for, we will give enough time in our lives to work with mediumship, basically practicing charity. You don't need to stop doing anything you do, providing what you do is healthy. If what you do is not healthy, so it's another opportunity to stop doing it anyway.
Yeah.
But if you do have a normal life, you will be able to cope with mediumship no problem. And in life, everything is a challenge. It's a challenge to wake up to go to work. It's a challenge to go to school, to university. It's a challenge when we are parents. Everything is a challenge. Nevertheless, we never stop doing it. So I think we only need to add mediumship to those lists. So you can do everything you do normally in your life and just add another one, mediumship, and live with that,
I think there's again another image that comes to mind. corroborating what you're saying, is that I think there are lots of in the collective mind. Let's say there are images, there are symbols, and there are images of mediums being wrapped in mystery. Sometimes a feather, wrapped in mystery, crystal ball or not, and or someone that's is pretty much into strong, deep meditation for most of the time. Well, I'm not talking against any of that. No, there's a room for all of that, for meditation practices, for everything. But personally, I see mediums are as people who are part of a community, part of a society. And my point is that every bit of information, every bit of knowledge that we get doesn't come as a rain of glitter. It's just it comes for purpose. Beautiful as it may be, there is always a purpose. And then it's down to us to identify what the purpose is or can be. And once we realize that, how much of that we can do. Because I believe if something falls in the palm of my hand, it's not just for me to look at it as well. What am I going to do with it? Why am I being told that? How am I being allowed to see that? It's not just for me, isn't it? It would be a bit selfish, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I think in the future, what you could see, lots of people will be able to see. What a medium feels like, lots of people will have the same possibility. And without that bitter sentiment that we are doing something wrong, because we're so natural, and you have no reason to hide, you have no reason not to be, because people don't feel like it's normal or whatever. So things like that will dissipate over the years. And I think it's dissipating already. If you compare the time of my father when he was young, it's much better now than was before. So things like that will change. And one thing that we do not have much nowadays is the research about new things. And I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of new things happening, especially with the young kids coming to Earth with different mediumship, different possibilities, different understanding of what mediumship is. But we are not collecting those information. We are not publicizing those information enough to tell people, hey, watch out, things are changing, things will change, things, as Munir said in the beginning, things will ever evolve if we like or not. The main problem with that is a lot of people don't want things to change because we would like to remain in the comfort zone forever, But things will change for sure.
Yeah, certainly. Guilherme and Faye, what came into my mind was that, in the future, because what I see is that now we exercise one or two types of mediumship, and in the future we'll have all of them. We will be a whole medium, not just in a medium of this or medium of that, or a medium that starts experiencing something and then it changes from a moment. And that is part of us. We are all mediums, all of us, at different degrees, yes, but we're all mediums. So mediumship is going to be part of every single human being as it is, but more developed in a different way. And then, I mean, I was reading something the other day. The person's questioning, well, what kind of medium is that switches on the mediumship when it gets into the Spiritist center, and when it leaves, no trace of mediumship whatsoever? I mean, what is that? It doesn't come with this switch. The important thing is that we learn how to live the best way to live with our faculty, just like anything else. I mean, anything else in life. We have to learn the wisdom of the faculty. And now opening this channel with the spiritual world and beginning to interact more often with the the other dimension, which is us. In 100 years we'll probably be there, and the knowledge that we take with us, if we come to give a communication, we'll know better the process, better than before. Before, only enlightened spirits knew exactly how mediumship worked from their side, and we'll be there. I ask myself, well, if I return to spirit, how am I going to be in a mediumship meeting? How am I know the process. I mean, I know in general terms. When it comes to to actually give a communication, probably there are some details that we'll learn with time. But all these, is a come and go constantly, where we experience things on one side and the other side. And mediumship will be more and more in our lives. If I receive a phone call, for instance, someone asks for help, and then, I start thinking, well, how could I help that person? And then I have this intuition. Oh, go and try that. And it works. This is mediumship. This is mediumship. This is inspiration. The oldest type of mediumship, because apparently in the caves, the spirits used to inspire, because the spirits at those times, they weren't, they had developed this capacity of articulating thoughts and so on, but inspiration, could help, and since those days. And we see mediumship there all the time. I mean, and I see this is going to, unfold in different types of interaction with the spiritual world, until the day that it is complete. I think it's Camille Flammarion in his book Urania, that in dream he visits a world where matter is so subtle, the material body is so subtle, that the interaction between the spiritual world and the physical world is almost as if the material world didn't exist. It has just some limitation, but they constantly interact with the dead ones, the deceased ones. I mean, they are always close together, interacting, helping one another to evolve. And it's so beautiful. That book is wonderful in the sense of giving us a perspective of, the way mediumship is going.
Yeah, this is
there
brilliant.
is another thing I would like to. Oh, sorry, go Faye.
No.
There's another thing I would like to.
Because that's what it's a picture of a future that in which the use of this ability to perceive, a more refined perception, is out of any specific room. It is part of life. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
There's something I'd like to discuss with you guys here tonight as well.
Mm.
It's fair to say that many of us, we came from a different creed into the Spiritism.
Mm.
And when we talk about the spirits, when we talk about the benefactors, we kind of put in an altar, in a very elevated place in comparison to us. And how do we work with that, Because none of them, when they come to talk to us, they try to promote themselves to anything else. It's exactly the opposite. It's almost a fight to be who is the humble spirits among them, but because we have that need, we always try to put them in an altar to justify like what we used to do with saints and things like that, right? I think that if we do change that perception, that yes, they may be better than us in a sense that they've been exposed to more experience than us, but they are not better in the essence. They are like we are. They are spirits. Well, I am a spirit. They are a spirit. So we are pretty much the same. The difference is the amount of experience they had is perhaps different than mine. But there's no difference other than, I don't see a difference other than that. If you do have more experiences, if you know how to use your experiences well, you will get better opportunities. And that is life as well, right? So how do you guys see that interaction with the spiritual world? What do you feel like? Do you feel like that what I said makes sense, people trying to put it in an altar? Or do you think that is getting better?
Well, I think it's just, no, it's just, what you say makes total sense. You know, I would be very wary of people who seems to channel, incorporate Cleopatra's and Napoleon's all the time. You know, it's, because it's, first of all, it's not the name that matters, but the quality. It's not, you can tell the tree by its fruit, or you can tell the fruit by its tree. It's not the name, it's the quality, it's the consistency, the reliability, isn't it, of the contact of the spirits that will share information, impart things to us. And so it's this idea of putting someone or something in an altar, I think was the need for a ritual, the need for this. Not, I mean, there's a time and a place for everything, but in this aspect, I think there's absolutely no need and no place, because how many altars are we going to build?
What I see as well is that sometimes when we do that, is actually distant ourselves from them. Not that they are very high above us, is that we are putting ourselves in a very low position. Whereas if we go there to learn, to observe the message, to analyze it, and take the message and apply in our lives, I think we'll be very close to them, because this is the purpose, not just to create this image of a super spirit, someone who is so far away from us. That is not the idea. And we see the example of some spirits who incarnated in this world, and they were very enlightened spirits, but they were very simple, very very normal people, but they knew exactly what they were doing. And we should be actually concerned with the message that they bring to us, not so much in just saying, oh, this is a God on earth or whatever.
No, and I believe the idea of the higher spirits. I mean, the higher they are, the more decentralizing they are. I mean, they'll probably spot a group or a person or a group that's ready for that moment, but the aim is not to concentrate there, is to enable people to have the information spread out, because times have changed. In the past, it would take a lot of information onto one spot so that you could reach a limited number of people, and spreading the news would take forever. But it's not the same now. Now it's so easy to contact one specific person or one group to reach out for thousands, millions. So the spreading correct, good information can be happening much faster and much more efficiently. Then what people need to agree is how to spot and identify what's reliable, what's safe, from what isn't.
That's why I think it's so important to study, study mediumship, understand the process, understand what can happen. In the same way that I asked the police officer in New York where I should go and where I shouldn't go, just read the medium's book, for instance, to know exactly what type of spirit is bringing the communication, the information. And, it's almost like a safeguard for us not to be deceived,
Let's think about future now. We are kind of old already, right? But there is a very young generation coming. How can we help them to have access to the future? How can we change things to make easier to those young creatures to have access to the information and to feel comfortable with mediumship? What do you guys feel like?
I feel like it's a matter of building a way of life. You know, just like everything that you learn, that the people learn from home, from the cradle, from mom and dad, from nan and granddad, or friends, or it's making the awareness, it's raising the awareness and making it natural, not something to be boasting about or nothing to be afraid of, but understanding it as part of life. You know, just as people learn etiquette, or they learn how to drive, there are protocols, there are rules, there are ways, there's safety, and to know that if a child feels that they have a perception of something that doesn't quite ring right, it probably isn't. You know, trust your feelings, trust your perception, and learn how to read your perception, and learn to verbalize and say why. I think it's important for kids, for children. I mean, children, anyone younger than me would be, to be able to perceive and say why yes and why not. Don't just bottle it in. Just don't. It's not I perceive, but I don't know why. Now, exercise saying it, verbalizing it. You know, clear expression of what one feels without fear. Oh, this is what I feel. Why is it? Why do you feel it's right? Without that, there's no. It's difficult to reason. You know, so it's not good. It's not. I don't see it. It's very good to be only rational or only perception. You've got to blend those.
I had a few occasions where very young spirits, incarnated spirits, came to us asking for help because of mediumship.
Mm.
And there was no structure to help them. They're too young. They have to wait until they are mature enough, and then we can do something. And there was not only one case. We had quite few. And at that time, a thought that came was, how can we be prepared for those young spirits? They are clearly mediums, having unbalanced mediumship already. Where are they going to find help? What should I prepare on the spiritual world from the spiritual world and in the spirit center to help them? Because let's think about today. We receive someone, let's say a teenager that is 16 years old, in need of immediate attention.
Mm-hmm.
People don't think about having a minimum structure to help them. Of course, people will say, let's give healing, let's give fluidified water, let's tell him to study, but that will not bring what he needs immediately.
No.
So how do you see that? If you were one of those teenagers arriving in a place asking for help, and how do you feel that? What would you like to see to help you in place?
I'll give you an example. Last week, my youngest grandson is 2, and he came back from his room and says, "Mom, I don't like that man." I said, "What man?" "The one at the window." Because I was working on my own, and he comes around and keeps looking at me. He says, "All right, let's go there and see it." And this is it. "Why is it that you don't like about him? Is he doing anything?" He's saying, "No, it's just saying, sitting there. I don't know why." Because maybe he just wants to see how you play, you know. And but then he was free to say, "Well, I don't like that man for this, and that reason." And it's, if it were somewhere else, people say, "I'll give you a healing." He's not ill. He's not sick. He just has a doubt, and he's being able to say it. So I think it's very important what you're saying. Let them see, teach them how to say it, and teach others to listen.
My experience with that is I think it's important to make it natural. My young daughter, she's 10, and I've always talked to her about spirits. Her granddad, her grandma in spirit world, and so I bring that into the natural context of life. So she's aware that spirits are around. There are spirits she hasn't seen so far. But I think we also have to, when giving assistance, for instance, if something happens in this context, I think it's easy because the base is already there. So you have to develop something based on what is going on, but knowing that the child already has some basis. But there are families where, they don't even like the idea of, spirit communication and so on, but mediumship is there. But we have to take into consideration that there are phases in the development of the child, because we know that it's natural until the age of 7, 8. The perispirit is still adapting to the physical body, so it's more natural to have that. So I think that at that period, until 7, 8, it has to be seen as natural. I mean, it has to be put into the context of the child, as they have these invisible friends. Yes, they have invisible friends. So I think the important thing is to treat it as natural. And then from that onwards, we have to begin to look at that no longer as a child, but someone who is showing some signs of a clear mediumship faculty. And not just, as you said, Faye, it's not ill or take to the psychiatrist to give some, medication or, something that, won't help. I think it's important to give information.
Precisely.
Always.
The boy needed a solution. And the solution was, well, all right. He said, but he's always there. I was, well, do you know what you can do? Ask your guardian angel, invite your guardian angel to play with you, and think of the moments that I hope you're happy.
Yeah.
Okay?
Teach how to handle the situation. Give the information to handle it, not to pretend it's not there or to think I'm different, I'm, nuts or whatever,
That's it.
I wish that one day, in the near future, we'll have a structure in place to teach parents to receive their kids with open arms. As Munir said, naturality is a must.
Yeah.
And that will open different possibilities, even in the Spiritist Center. Because the day people start to see that really as natural, even the Spiritists, they start to see that as natural, they will start to have a different organization at home, on the Spiritist Center. Mm-hmm. They will talk more freely about everything that happens between the two worlds. And then you feel like, why do I need to have fear? Yeah, that's fine. I don't need to wait for another 20 years until I hear something that will bring me peace. I don't need to study for 20 years before I become someone considered to be part of a mediumship meeting or something, because we are responsible for them. If we are today on the Spiritist Center as a leader or as a teacher or call whatever you want to call, but if you are there and in theory you're being more exposed to the phenomena, to the teachings, is our responsibility to welcome those that do not have that yet. But I believe a lot of those young fellas, they are better prepared than we are because of the time and age. They are coming to change the world. They are coming to prepare the future. We are here just to welcome them, because I think we are not the ones preparing the future. The younger generation, really young generations, are the ones that will prepare the future. And if they do have that opportunity, it would be great.
I think, Guilherme, at this age, teenagers, they like to talk to teenagers. And I think perhaps the suggestion is a Spiritist group with a group of teenagers who know mediumship, who studied mediumship. And when they discuss, among the group, each one's experience, I think is a therapy for them. And they like talking to, people at their age. I mean, there is a tuning there. And I think it should be invested in creating this youth group where, those prepared with mediumships can talk directly to those who come in a situation of imbalance. And I think it's a more effective way, because we, with white beard and so on, talking to them won't be that effective.
Yeah, I think it's all that. And it's important that they know that they don't have to carry the world on their shoulders. They don't have to find solutions on their own. They don't have to be afraid or to be brave all the time. It's if in case of doubt, ask. If you need to talk,
share is important. Share.
Find someone who's willing, and it doesn't matter if there's a title or no title. If you find someone that you can trust, who's willing to listen, even if that person doesn't feel as strong, as qualified, it doesn't matter. That person can refer you to someone else. It's establish bonds of trust and not bonds of fear or pride.
That's true. That's very true. Unfortunately, our time is up, and I would like to ask both of you if you would like to give a brief message for our future generations, because that's what we're talking about here, mediumship and the future. What would you like to say, Munir and Faye?
After you, Faye.
Okay. Well, it's just let's use a new paradigm, and that is one of sharing information, encouraging people to learn, to talk, to study, and to see that it's a wonderful world of knowledge and access. That's right there.
Yeah. My piece of advice is don't isolate yourself. You find so many people going through the same thing that, already have the solution you're looking for. So, just, go and find it and study and learn and exchange experiences. Life is about that, exchanging experiences.
Yeah.
What I would say, don't take a no as an answer. Look after information. Find access to the information. You may find a lot of closed doors in your way. Do not accept a no as a definitive answer, because Kardec and all the benefactors They will not say no. They will give you what you need to do what you came to do. Be serious about it. Be committed with what you want. And you see that those closed doors won't remain closed forever. That would be my end for today. So let me share with you guys here the announcements for the week. Well, we do have Noslive study next Tuesday at 7:30. We have Kardec's medium book study every Saturday, 10:30 in the morning. We have Munir with us every Wednesday, 4 p.m. UK time, with wonderful time with Genesis, having a little coffee with us. I would suggest you guys to have a go. We also have Spiritual Light. Next opportunity, Wednesday, 9 o'clock, will be available to everyone on YouTube. We always use as a reference during our talks the Spiritist book, medium books, and the Gospel. So I would like to thank you all for the participation. Many thanks to Munir. Many thanks to Faye. I really appreciate your help. You made my evening very interesting. And thanks a lot. See you guys in 2 weeks' time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Guilherme.
See you.